All right, ladies and gentlemen, open your eyes, lend us an ear. You are watching a meaty, moist edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings alongside Jesse Cofield. I am Emerson Latzia.
The script said meaty Monday. I don't know why you substituted Monday with moist.
I like alliteration. I did say meaty. I said meaty and moist because meat's moist and we are moist because we are excited for what's coming up on this show. Next 55 minutes, we're going to do that thing you like. And that's talking World Cup. That's talking NBA. What else? PGA Tour. Oh my God, NHL. But we got football teams making major football statements. So what do you say we start there?
Yeah, let's welcome in DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich and Jeff Ulrich here for a little NFL hangover on this beautiful Monday. We're going to start with the 49ers earning an impressive win over Miami, but suffering an enormous loss. All right, Jimmy G knocked out for the season. San Fran still a Super Bowl contender with Mr. Irrelevant. Now he's Mr. Relevant. Brock Purdy at quarterback. Is that an overreaction to say that, Jeff? And in light of the Panthers reportedly being set to release Baker Mayfield, should they pick him up?
I mean, look, it is an overreaction to say that this is suddenly the Seahawks division. I mean, I'm sorry, Pierce. Cover your ears, pal, earmuffs, buddy, but the 49ers are still the better team. They have the #1 defense in the league. Pierce is about to agree with me on this as well, I can tell. Chris and McCaffrey, they can still run the ball a ton. They're going to win more games than they lose, even with, Mr. Purdy good at quarterback. But to your question, should they go out and grab Baker Mayfield or whoever becomes available? They're absolutely going to be doing that. And, again, like I made the case, I tweeted to Jim Irsay last night, release Nick Foles, pal. I mean, it's time. Let's go win a Super Bowl with San Francisco. But no, I still think the 49ers will prevail here. I really do think that, what you saw last week was what they're capable of. Their defense is just smothering. Their defensive line is absolutely unstoppable. And, they shut down basically what was the high-flying, best passing attack in the league. So what do they need Brock Purdy to do if he ends up just staying as the starting quarterback? Just be semi-good. This is a team that almost won the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. They can absolutely win this division with Brock Purdy.
All right, Pierce, I know you're overreacting and saying this is now the Seahawks' time to shine. Let's go.
Yeah, the plus 2,000 pick for them to win the division is looking pretty good, but I'm not going to cash yet just because Jeff is right. San Francisco's defense is very good, and San Francisco's defense can very much lead them to this championship, even with Purdy at quarterback. Probably won't go anywhere in the playoffs, but they've got enough of defense. They've got enough weapons. San Francisco's got a game in the bag, so it's going to be tough for Seattle to overcome San Francisco with that lead. And I don't even know if losing Garoppolo is that much of a loss. Sure, it hurts a little bit, but they'll be back on their feet within no time. The thing that worries me with Seattle, and this was the case last year, Geno put together some really good box scores last season. They still lost games. And this year, they win ugly. That's kind of the modus operandi for Pete Carroll. They always win ugly. That's just the way it is in Seattle. But when you win ugly, you also lose ugly. And yesterday could have easily been an ugly loss. The stats look great for Geno and DK and Tyler Lockett. They've got running back issues, and they're just going to have to fire on all cylinders constantly because the defense just isn't able to keep up. Where it stands, I think San Francisco is looking a little bit better at the moment. My Seattle dream is slightly fading, but it's not over yet.
Okay. How about this? How about a win over Kansas City? The Bengals did something no other team has done before here, Pierce, and that's beat Patrick Mahomes 3 times in his career. That's including the playoffs. It's all happened in the 2022 calendar year, by the way. Cincinnati's trending up. Elsewhere around the NFC North, the Ravens are officially broken despite a pathetic 1-point victory over Jeff's Broncos. Lamar Jackson.
Who covered? You laughed at me, but they covered.
Yeah, they certainly did.
They did.
Still on a very terrible, ugly ride, though. Lamar Jackson could be out days to weeks, according to head coach Mr. Harbaugh, with a knee injury. So Baltimore will miss the playoffs with Lamar sidelined, Pierce. Is that an overreaction?
Yeah, that is a little bit of an overreaction. But just real quickly on the Bengals side, we'd like to say that they're trending in the right direction. They've been here all along. If we just rewind the clock and go back to the first 2 games of the season, they lost those games because they just didn't play very well. And that kind of happens when your starting quarterback is on a golf cart the entire preseason. So I think we could dismiss those first 2 games and just see what Cincinnati's done after those games. And they've been at the best, top of the league, even dealing with injuries.
Yeah.
The Ravens, that's not the case. The Ravens struggled to deal with injuries last season. The Ravens, once again, are struggling to deal with injuries this season. They're probably not going to win the division. They'll likely squeak into the playoffs. I think Tyler Huntley is a very underrated quarterback. He was more than competent last season. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he runs. I mean, he seamlessly slides into this. He can run the ball. He can pass. The problem that Huntley's going to run to is the same problem that Jackson had. Who's he going to pass to? Who is he going to hand the ball off to? They don't have any running backs. From the DFS perspective, I would be really interested in Mark Andrews moving forward. Last season when Huntley played, Huntley peppered targets towards Andrews all game long. The defense hasn't been terrible lately, but if you look at the teams that Baltimore's played lately, not really saying much. This thing probably is going to collapse quickly, but they still are probably going to squeak into the playoffs.
What do you think here, Jeff?
I'm going to say no, it's not an overreaction. I think that this team is in a lot of turmoil, and it's not just like the injury thing either. Like, it's not a Tyler Huntley issue, as Pierce alluded to. I mean, he's a very competent quarterback. He can do some of the things that Lamar Jackson does with his feet, and he knows how to get the ball to Mark Andrews, so that's good. But you look at who they're faced. They faced the Steelers twice, who are really coming on, the really elite rush defense there. It's going to neutralize like a big advantage that the Ravens have. They face the Browns, who are, it's going to be Deshaun Watson's 3rd game. And the Browns are one of the teams chasing for the wild card right now. So, you've got one easy game in there against Atlanta, but then you end the season with the Bengals. I think this team could legitimately go like 1-4 coming in. It wouldn't shock me that much. Their defense, their secondary is just still, you can absolutely get them. I mean, we saw the Jags do it. We saw the Jets do it earlier in the year. So I think the secondary gets shielded a lot by their good rush defense and by the fact that they have such a good ground attack, but that's going to dry up a little with Lamar Jackson on the sideline, and just because they're just ineffective of late on offense. So no, I've said fade the Ravens for a bit now. I'm not going to get off it. I don't even really care if Lamar comes back. Yeah. I think this team is set to potentially get beaten a few times down the stretch by some division opponents. Definitely like the Bengals. We said it. Hit the Bengals division win plus 200. Hit the Burrow MVP. Hit the Bengals Super Bowl last week. You can still do it, but fade the Ravens here, because I wouldn't be shocked if they actually ended up missing the playoffs altogether.
Because they're 8-4, they're still atop the AFC North here because they hold the tiebreaker against the Bengals, and not to mention that Baltimore doesn't play a team with a winning record until you mentioned Cincinnati, Jeff. That's week 18.
But again, Steelers and Browns both. Steelers have won a few games in a row here, and the Browns now, obviously, with Watson back, a little bit of a different team. So
biggest problem with the Ravens, in my opinion, Greg Roman. Best thing that could ever happen to Baltimore right now is Greg Roman takes that Stanford job. That's it. The offense is disgusting. Relies too heavily on tight ends.
All right.
Done. I'm done with them.
Okay, then you also have the Eagles, right? Dominating the Titans, throwing for 300 yards 1 week after running for 300.
They can do it all.
They can do it all. Philly should be the clear Super Bowl favorite. Overreaction, Jeff?
No.
It's a slight
overreaction.
It's not a major overreaction. You have to give the benefit of the doubt to the Bills here still. The Bills have the better defense. They do. They're just tougher against the run. They have more turnover. They just create more turnovers in the secondary as well. And I think that the skill level on the Bills defense gives them the slight edge there. But what I think where the Eagles really deserve to be like right up there with the Bills as second favorites, and they should definitely be ahead of the Chiefs at this point, in my opinion, is just the fact that their offense, again, they're just executing in so many different ways. Okay, you shut down the run for most of the game. Jalen Hurts comes out, passes, gets a late touchdown with his legs, wins the game. Okay, you show up, you're Tennessee, you try and stuff the run. Oh, A.J. Brown just destroys you, and then they run the ball down your throat the second half. So the Eagles' offense is just, with the healthy Jalen Hurts, it's nearly unstoppable. I mean, eventually they're going to get their points. So the Eagles absolutely deserve to be second favorites. I'm going to give the edge to Buffalo for the simple fact that I think that their defense is just better and more solid. I know that the Eagles' rush defense really showed up last night, but overall their DVOA had been trending in the wrong direction. And a win against Tennessee is good, but they're still the Titans. I mean, they show up when you don't think they're going to show up, and then when everyone thinks that they're going to do well, they just crap the proverbial bed. So
yeah.
It's a great win. the Eagles definitely deserve to be the second favorites right now, but I'm not going to rank them in front of Buffalo yet.
Look at that.
Pierce.
Bills plus 350 is the favorite, and then Chiefs and Eagles have the same Super Bowl odds on the DK Sportsbook.
Yeah, so the DK Sportsbook agrees with you, Jeff. What about you, Pierce? Do you think they should be the clear favorites here?
Yeah, they're the clear favorites.
Yeah.
I don't know how Jeff can talk about the Chiefs and the Bills. You might have missed a team there. Cowboys looked pretty good last night. I think that's a real team with just as many weapons, and they're firing on all cylinders. They're kind of terrifying, but I think ultimately you got to go with the Eagles. The only time the Eagles ever lose is when they catch a bunch of bad breaks and they commit some penalties, and then on the opposite side of the ball, the team basically plays perfect. Even when they make mistakes, the other team has to be perfect to beat them. You know, you really have to be ticky-tack to find some problems with the Eagles, and penalties are about it. Last week they had 12 penalties for 80 yards. Obviously they're able to overcome that, and in most cases they will be, but you know, it could be a playoff game that's tight, and if they commit a bunch of penalties, maybe have a couple turnovers, they could easily lose a game. So that's something they probably should fix, but if that's their only problem, committing too many penalties, watch out.
Pierce, Jalen Hurts the front runner for NFL MVP. Is that a reality or an overreaction?
That's reality. That's one of the guys that we picked in the preseason shows.
Yep, hell yeah. Jeff, who'd you mention as MVP earlier?
Well, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Joe Burrow. Okay, yeah,
Joe
because
Burrow.
I still think you're getting pretty solid odds on him. I mean,
Hell yeah.
obviously you're going to need the Bengals to win out and win that division. But if they do, I mean, he's got a win over Mahomes in his pocket now.
Okay.
You know, second year in a row winning the division. It'll be close, but Jalen Hurts, yeah. I would take Jalen Hurts at plus 175 over Mahomes at plus 125 right now.
Yep. And then Burrow there at plus 600. Good stuff. Got one more overreaction question for you guys because Deshaun Watson, he returned yesterday for the first time in a very long time, and he looked like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. And it was against the really sad and pathetic Texans in a half-empty NRG Stadium there. The Browns failed to score an offensive touchdown, for crying out loud. Cleveland will regret the Deshaun Watson contract, Jeff. Overreaction?
Should they go out and get Baker? Just kidding. I'm joking.
Dude,
I'm
Baker's
joking.
out there.
I'm
Hey, Baker and
joking.
Odell are available, man. I mean, they can really bring back the squad. Amazing. Yeah, injury report. No kidding. That's what would need to be up there if they did that. No, it's not. It's an overreaction. It is an overreaction.
No, it's not.
The guy's played one game of football now in the
Pathetic.
last 2 years.
Pathetic.
This is going to be rusty. Of course, it's going to be rusty. Were you trying to talk, Emerson? What's going on?
Yeah.
No, look, I think that the Browns and Deshaun Watson's going to be absolutely fine. We called this game. We said expect an ugly, low-scoring game. It's exactly what happened. The Browns defense ended up taking over because Kyle Allen is just so bad, and the Texans are just so bad on offense that Deshaun Watson really didn't need too much. He attempted 22 passes. He ran a little bit. He'll be fine. He really will be. He's a very talented football player, regardless of the issues that are going on outside the field. Now that he's, having his first game in Houston wasn't exactly ideal either. So much going on. Going back to your former team, I think that as you see Deshaun Watson get a little bit more comfortable, you'll see the old Deshaun Watson come back on the field, which was a very, very good football player. And at one time, he was basically the ranked second in terms of just overall elite talent and upside right behind Patrick Mahomes in the league. So I don't think they'll regret it. I think that you go all in on quarterback talent, and he's still one of the best talents in the league.
Pierce, how soon until Deshaun Watson returns to 2020 Deshaun Watson then?
You might see a couple games at the end of the season, but if you were really being conservative, you're probably going to want to wait till next year. As you mentioned, he was beyond rusty. He was basically just zapping shoes the entire game. His accuracy, I think he completed 3 passes deeper than 10 yards downfield. That's pretty rough. That's pretty bad. We're giving him the benefit of the doubt. We're not that hard on him right now because they beat Houston, having nothing to do with him. But if we take the perspective of what if they would have played any other team in the NFL, they would have lost by 10 points at least. And we have a lot different take on Deshaun Watson this morning if the Browns got absolutely destroyed. I think people would be screaming and yelling for Brissett getting back in there. But just as lucky as it was, they ended up facing Houston, the worst team in football. So Watson looked terrible, and he's going to keep his job for another week.
Yeah.
He really shouldn't. So if you're expecting him to turn around next week, it's not happening, or the week after that, probably not going to happen. Maybe by the end of the season, but more than likely in 2023.
He posted a 53.4 quarterback rating, completed 12 of 22 passes, that awful red zone interception, 54.5% completion rate. Keep in mind, the Texas defense was allowing 105.4 quarterback ratings and 64.3 completion rate to opponents in November.
Talk about rusty.
He may be one of the worst quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah. All right. Well, week 13 does wrap up tonight. Okay.
It does.
Brady and the Bucks hosting the Saints. It's a sad division, yes, but this is a monster matchup that's going to define the division and a path to the playoffs.
Yeah, and Brady's just been torched by the Saints,
Yeah.
too. I think he's lost like 8 in a row maybe in the regular season.
Not great.
Nope.
Not great. 2-3 against New Orleans with Tampa Bay. So let's get your DFS and sportsbook plays for this one. So Pierce, who are you going to captain in this spot? Don't say Tom Brady.
I will take Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
In this spot. Had a really good game against the Browns last time they played. 12 catches, 110 yards, a touchdown. It's facing the Saints, who are more than likely going to be without Marshawn Lattimore. That means they're going to have 3 cornerbacks that all rank outside of the top 100 in PFF grades. What I really like is that if you look at Mike Evans, and a lot of people like Mike Evans, but his ADOT is almost near 15, whereas the ADOT for Chris Godwin is only 5.8 yards. And most people say, well, I want the deeper routes. I want all the big yards. Well, the problem is Tom Brady is not completing those passes. Last week, I think he targeted Evans 9 times, and he only caught 2 of those passes. Brady's just not quite as accurate. We've already documented their line issues. You need decent line blocking to be able to make those downfield passes. It's just not happening for Mike Evans and Tom Brady this year. But on the other hand, Chris Godwin running these short routes, the safer routes, the easier to complete routes. That's where the yardage, that's where the receptions are coming. I will go back to Godwin.
All right, Jeff, Pierce going with Godwin. Where are you going in this spot?
Going to the other Chris Olave at 12-6. Again,
boy.
we talked about him on the show yesterday, I know a little bit, but nothing's really changed for me since then. This is a player who's second in the league in total air yards, getting the downfield targeting that we want from a wide receiver to give us the upside ability to use him in the captain spot. Yes, wide receivers are more variable, but you look at Alvin Kamara's record against the Bucs, it's terrible. I don't know if he's ever gone for more than like 50 yards rushing against them in his career. We know Mike Evans stinks against the Saints all the time either. His last 8 games against them, he's produced under 80 yards. Olave's in an interesting spot. I mean, 100 yards in 2 games ago against the Rams, against another weaker pass defense. I think that when you look at the Bucs defense, this secondary is still gettable. Andy Dalton hasn't played terribly the last couple weeks. I think Chris Olave at 12-6 offers very similar upside to Chris Godwin. I do think those are the 2 captains you should be thinking about right off the top, because, for net back, it's going to mix up the backfield a little bit. I think the only other options that I really look at are quarterbacks. And I mean, as I mentioned, Andy Dalton's playing better. Doesn't mean we need to captain him. So let's go Olave here. I think 12-6 saves you a lot of money. You can stack the rest of the Bucs skill players on the way back.
Yeah, he scored 10 or more DraftKings points here in 5 of his past 6 games. Jeff, when I ask you for value play in the showdown tonight between the Saints and the Bucs, how low on the board are you going here?
We can go fairly low in this one. I mean, you don't want to go too low, but I think that the tight ends offer a lot of interesting, viability. I think Adam Troutman at 1,800, definitely, especially with Juwan Johnson looking to be out. I believe if he's not already ruled out, he's very questionable for the game. So Adam Troutman's a player who we've seen show up. He's been on the field quite a bit over the last few weeks. And, maybe the targeting isn't massive, but this is a player who's still only 1,800. He's seen targets, and actually each of his last 3 games now, he saw 3 targets against the Rams a few weeks ago. So is he touchdown dependent? Yes. Is he probably going to show up with like 4 or 5 catches? Probably not. But, if Juwan Johnson is out, I mean, that's a big target gone. Adam Troutman at 1,800, that's where I would go. Bucs also just aren't that great at defending against the tight end position. So give me Troutman there at 1,800. I think that's the one value play that I would really feel good about relying on under 2K.
All right, Pierce, is there someone in the, let's say, $200 area you like?
I tried to find somebody, but maybe as the day progresses and we get injury reports or news, maybe someone will pop up. But right now, I'm going to go a little contrarian and cheap with the Saints DST. I still plan on playing a lot of Buccaneers, which I think most people will. And most people say, well, I can't play the Saints DST with a bunch of Buccaneers. You can. You can give up yards. Those don't hurt you. You can actually give up points. That doesn't hurt you. What we want from the DST, sacks, possibly interceptions, maybe a defensive touchdown if everything goes well. But we definitely want sacks, and we know that over basically Tom Brady's time in Tampa, he has struggled against the Saints pass rush. They find ways to get to him without blitzing, just bringing the front four, and they have a 7th adjusted sack rate. We know the Buccaneers' offensive line's not playing that well. The Buccaneers not playing well on 3rd down. Their red zone numbers are not very good. I think there's a great opportunity to save some money and get very unconventional by playing the Saints DST.
All right, let's move over to the DK Sportsbook. Jeff, yesterday I think you liked a Chris Olave prop. Are you going there again today?
You were obsessed with
Yeah,
him.
I mean, I'll continue to throw Chris Olave. I mean, I mentioned the over just on his normal receiving prop, which I think has gone up a little bit since yesterday, but that's fine. I mean, again, looking at Chris Olave, a player who we know going to get targeted downfield a lot. He's at 60.5 now. That's still fine. I think anything under 62 is fine to take an over on Chris Olave. And again, I think this is a player you should be looking for in the alt lines. I mean, 75 plus yards at plus 115, or even 100 plus yards at plus 285. I'd be fine looking for that. You could even look to him for, maybe if you want to get big money, I mean, go for the multiple touchdown prop. I think playing for just a big output from Chris Olave is smart on a week-to-week basis. It's a good player to just get invested in over the rest of the season. We know the targets are there. We know the air yards are there. And, he's just a very talented player in an offense that just doesn't have that many targets. So there's a lot of different ways you can play Olave: first touchdown score, multiple touchdown score, like I said, the alt line. But get invested. This is a player I really like for player props tonight. I think that the Saints, if they want to keep this game closer or just want to score some points, they're going to have to go to him in some way, shape, or form.
All right, Pierce, what do you like for your prop here?
Jeff's not going to like this one. Adam Troutman, under 2.5 receptions, under 23.5 receiving yards. Maybe Juwan Johnson suits up, but Taysom Hill definitely is going to suit up. They're facing a top 10 pass defense. They're facing one of the best pass rushes in football. I just don't see the Saints and Andy Dalton doing much offensively. And if you just look at Trout's game log, only 2 times has he had 3 receptions in a game. One of those was way back in week 4, played 69% of the snaps. And then in week 11, where he played 100% of the snaps, and he still only had 3 receptions. I'd gladly take 2.5 and the 23.5 and go under both those.
Juwan Johnson is out, by the way. So Adam Troutman's going to go for about 5 catches, 80 yards tonight.
Break the bank.
All right, we'll get you guys out of here with this. Game bets. Pierce, what do you like? Bucks currently 3-point favorites at home. Total sitting at 41. Where are you going?
Yeah, if it's only 3, I'll take that in a second.
Okay.
The Saints defense has improved. They are playing better lately, but I just don't trust the offense led by Andy Dalton. Alvin Kamara has looked really bad lately. Olave is good. He has potential down the road, but it's up and down. And against this defense that plays good pass rush, good rush defense, I just don't see how the Saints are going to score any points. I don't love Tampa either, but I think they're going to end up just scoring more points, and the defense is going to carry the day. So take Tampa, lay the points.
Jeff, we're talking about a Saints team, and I believe it's been shut out twice in the last 5 weeks or so.
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from the line. Again, interested a little bit in the Saints, but I'd rather just go to the under. I really would love this line at 41.5. 41, though, I'll still take it. These are just 2 defenses who, again, the Saints are playing a little bit better. Tampa's still got a solid defense. I mentioned that the Saints, I think Olave and Dalton will be able to get some yards. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to points. They shut down Alvin Kamara every single game. And on the other side, Mike Evans can't do anything. So we're kind of just reliant on can Tom Brady and Chris Godwin move the ball enough. I don't know if there's just going to be a ton of points. I mean, I think 2017 is a very realistic score, maybe 17-14 for this game. So I think under 41 is fine. Try and get 41.5 can, but I'll just play the trends here, which is, the primetime unders.
All right, good stuff, guys. Thank you. For more on this Monday Night Football matchup, let's hear from Emerson's conversation last week with Mike Golick Sr.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Final game of Week 13 here, going down to Tampa Bay. Bucks are around a field goal favorite here against the Saints. The Saints have had some, recent luck, some recent success, if you want to call it that, against Tom Brady and his crew. But the Saints were just shut out for the second time this season. I think second time in 5 weeks or something. The Bucks are coming off their own disappointing loss in Cleveland here, but still hold down the fort in a really sad NFC South. Who do you believe has an edge here on Monday night?
You're very kind to say sad because there could be a lot of other words used for this division, which is horrific. it shows you how good, my picks are. I picked the Colts to win their division, and I picked the Saints to make the
It
playoffs
happens,
right
Mike.
behind
This has
Tampa
been
Bay.
this has been a wild NFL season. Like, it's been wild for bettors and
has.
just people in general trying to pick games.
Yeah, and I was saying last week, I thought Tampa Bay was starting to take those little steps in a positive way, and then they lose in overtime to Cleveland, in Cleveland. But I think just the Saints are so bad right now. Though one of the better sides occasionally for them, they're inconsistent, obviously, has been their defense, and they have had success against Tom Brady. And let's be honest, this Tom Brady offense right now is anything but a juggernaut. I mean, they are not a great offense. So, boy, would it be something if the Saints up and stole one here from Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay should win this game. But, I mean, when you think about it, they're only, a game and a half better than the Saints right now. That division is horrible. Every team is under 500. They stink. But if Tampa Bay is going to do anything, they need to win a game like this for sure. I mean, they're gonna probably win the division and represent that division in the playoffs just because somebody has to. But I just don't think they're playing well enough to do anything more this year.
Like a remix. Okay, now we're back. We're back, and guess who's also back?
Howie.
Jeff Ulrich for PGA pin placement. Here he is. You're gonna predict finishing positions for teams at the QBE shootout.
That's right. And let's not forget the matches this Saturday. Everyone,
Yes.
a lot of people thinking about that, but we're thinking QBE shootout. Let's start with so it's a team event here. Let's start with the veteran squad. Harris English and Matt Kuchar. So they've won this event 3 times. Where do they finish? Atop the board? They make it 4?
Yeah, I mean, I had to verify that like Harris English and Matt Kuchar won this event that many times, but you're correct. What a dominant team. I mean, I don't know. Harris English is still on his way back from injury. Matt Kuchar, not really the greatest anymore. We'll say 4th.
Okay.
4th for this event. I mean, I don't know. I mean, both guys, a lot of experience. Matt Kuchar playing, in team events and stuff like that. Both solid putters, but I don't really know. I don't like this as much for them. You got the short odds. If Harris English was like back to where he was before that injury, I'd probably be more bullish on them, maybe predict them for the win, but I'm not going to do that this year. I don't think they get the 4th QBE shootout win. So we're going to fade them. We're going to say 4th this year for Pooch and Harris English.
They got the 3rd best odds on the board, plus 650.
All right, Max Homa, Kevin Kistner are back for a second time as a pairing. Homa's the top-ranked player in the field, so where do you see them finishing this week?
This team is like a huge wild card. I mean, these two could literally come in and just finish last and just be like, it's a fun week. We don't care. I mean, that's just kind of the personality that both of these guys have. At the same time, these are also two of the most, what you just call cold-blooded players on the PGA. They have so many wins over the last 5 years between them. I don't even know where they're at. How many wins does Max Homa have? He's got like 4 or 5 wins over the last 2 years. You know what? Let's just do it. Let's just predict them to win because I think when you look at overall talent here, when you just look at like players who what do? They win. They sink putts. They play well everywhere. That's what Kevin Kisner and Max Homa kind of do. So we know Kiz is a very good match play player. Likes the team events as well. Homa just gets along with everyone. You know what? They'll win.
Okay. All right. If you guys actually have faith in what Jeff is saying, you can get plus 700 odds for them to do that right now.
You know what? That sounds really good. How many teams are there in this event, Emerson?
So like 12 or so. Yeah. Hold on a second. Here, I have it right here. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. Nailed it.
Well.
That's pretty good odds. They're my winner.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. So then we know that you're not taking Jason Day and Billy Horschel to win, but what?
Do they have a top finish in them?
Where do you predict them to finish?
I mean, I'm not taking Billy Horschel to win anything.
Dude, this is his home state,
He's a terrific team player, and he has won the Zurich Classic before in the team event. But he's also attached to Jason Day here. Who knows how that's going to win? Jason Day has won this event, but it was back in 2016 when he was like the alpha prime Jason Day version. So, the putter just isn't as good for Day anymore. I don't know what Billy Horschel's been doing. What should we put these guys at? I'm going to put them as, again, only 12 teams in the mix. Let's say third. I think third is solid. Billy Horschel will probably show up. It's a team event. Everyone likes playing with Billy Ho. Jason Day had a solid fall, too, so I can't predict them to finish like 8th or anything. This is still a pretty good team. We'll go third.
Okay.
All right, how about the father-son duo that's not
no.
named Woods and also actually isn't really a father-son duo, but Steve Stricker's 55 and Cam Young, 25 years young, pairing up. So, could be a father and son. How do you see this pair faring?
Yeah, I don't know how this pairing came about either. How did Cameron Young have Steve Stricker's number? It's really interesting. I'd like to know the story behind it. But at the same time, Steve Stricker he's still one of the best putters probably in the world. He's just very, very solid. But I mean, it's the first time for Cameron Young playing this event, I believe. And it's good that he's going with a veteran player. But we have 5 or 6 really solid teams of two legit PGA pros together. It's pretty hard for me to predict this team for top 5. I'm going to say Stricker shows up, and you know what? I'm going to say they finish 8th. Cameron Young had a pretty solid week in the Bahamas last week, so he's playing well, but I'm not going to predict that that necessarily carries over. And then who knows what Stricker's going to do because he's in the Champions Tour. So let's go 8th for this team. Not really too bullish on that scenario. I think there's better spots.
All right, last one, Hoagie and Theegala. So they'll be making their first appearance here. Yates on the DK Sportsbook, second best odds to win it, plus 600. Where do they finish?
So this is one of those teams where they look good on the board, and they're like, oh my God, Tom Hoagie, Sahith Theegala, they were dominating in the fall, but this is a different event. It's a team event. Again, first time playing. I would much rather go to a veteran squad down the board. We mentioned Homa and Kisner, but I don't mind the Mullenix-Scott Stallings pairing. They're plus 1,100. You're getting way better odds. You're getting basically double the odds on Mullenix and Scott Stallings versus Hoagie and Theegala. I'm going to predict Hoagie and Theegala for 6th. I'm going to say Mullenix and Stallings get right in there and they finish top 3. I think they're a better bet by far. And quite frankly, if you're looking for, value, I think they're the best value on the board right now there at plus 1,100. So no, going to fade the Hoagie Theegala. Again, it's just a different type of event. Team event. Give me the veterans there. Scott Stallings has played events like this a ton in the past. The Zurich. Mullenix has been around for a bit. I like that pairing quite a bit, but we're going to fade Hoagie and Theegala this week.
All right, good stuff, Jeff. Thank you. We got
Later,
an
Jeff.
8-game slate coming our way in the NBA tonight. Jeff Pratt joining us in the studio coming up next to break it down.
All right, guys. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 8 games on the NBA slate tonight. Everyone watching right now. I just received a few emails. Who the hell should I stuff inside my DFS lineups on DraftKings tonight? Well, go ahead. Go ahead, Howie. Back up. Let's bring him in. Jeff Pratt, expert here.
Yep.
His mic's on this week. We're going to hear him loud and clear.
All right,
Outside.
loud
Building
and
blocks.
clear. Who is your best guard to build your lineups around?
I really like what I've seen from Josh Giddey lately. And at 7,500, I think there is a strong potential return on investment here. Giddey has scored 44 plus fantasy points in back-to-back contests, and he impacts literally every aspect of the game. Now, all of the attention is on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in Oklahoma City this year, which is understandable. He's playing at an insane level, but Giddey is just so much fun to watch. I mean, how many guys in the league right now are giving you 15, 8, and 6 on a regular basis? His game is incredibly unique, and it's well-suited to play alongside Shai. Now, the matchup tonight isn't fantastic, I must admit. Atlanta ranks pretty well against opposing backcourts. That being said, both OKC and the Hawks rank top 10 in pace. They're going to get up and down the floor a lot, which really benefits Giddey. So I think he should be
a lot
due.
of opportunities there to stuff the stat sheet, Jeff.
Yeah.
All right, now help us stuff the stat sheet in the forwards department. Which one would you build your lineups around?
With James Harden possibly returning tonight, I think a lot of people are going to forget about Tobias Harris, who has been fantastic in an expanded role lately. Harris has scored 40-plus fantasy points in 4 of his last 5. He's been very efficient. He just looks much more confident out there, which is great to see after he was just buried in Philly's depth chart. Like I said, people might be concerned about Harris with Harden coming back. I really wouldn't be. I think the player is going to be affected the most by Harden's return is Shake Milton. The Sixers will still need that solidified third scoring option with Tyrese Maxey out, so the usage and shots should be there for Harris. Tonight, Philly plays Houston. The Rockets are just a disaster defensively. They give up the 4th most points per game in the league. This is a great opportunity for Harris to stay hot, even if it is in a slightly minimized role.
Speaking of that game, Joel Embiid is 11-4 at the center position. Are you going to pay up for? You got Giannis at 11-9, Joel Embiid at 11-4, and then you go all the way down to the 9K range. So do you want to pay up for a guy who's in that 11 range, or are you going to save some money?
I am going to pay up tonight.
Yes.
It's going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is the first time Giannis has been under 12K since October 29th. So I think you need to take advantage of the slight discount there. I stayed away from Giannis for quite some time over the last month. He was actually somewhat underwhelming.
Yeah, you've been
for
obsessed
a stretch.
with Anthony Davis.
I have been,
and rightfully
he's
so.
exactly.
Rightfully so.
Look what he just did.
Hey,
exactly.
hey, I'm not yelling at you.
He's been incredible. But Giannis, what I was looking for from Giannis after that underwhelming stretch in November was consistent, elite play, and that's exactly what we've seen from him lately. 51 plus fantasy points in 7 straight games. The usage rate has remained at an elite level. He's hitting 40% or higher on a regular basis now. Now, Chris Middleton is back, but I actually think that's going to help Giannis out because with Middleton in the lineup, the Bucks offense finds a new dimension. Defenses have to respect it. They have to pay more attention to Middleton, and as a result, that opens up more opportunities for Giannis. I think he should stay hot tonight against the Magic team that doesn't have Wendell Carter Jr. and might not have Mo Bamba.
All right, looking at this 8-game slate, let's say there's some cheap folks watching us right now, and they're like, well, I want to build around a value play. I actually don't want to spend a lot of money. So is there a value play? Who is your top value play to recommend building around?
I'm going to go back to the Thunder here and take Jeremiah Robinson-Earl at 4,300. I know that's not a household name, but not a lot of people are watching the Thunder this year. If you tuned in to watch them play, you've noticed this guy has really picked up his play lately. He's started 3 straight games. He's played 25-plus minutes in each of those contests, so he's really carving out a larger role for himself. And then from a production standpoint, he's giving us all we can ask for from a sub-5K option. 29-plus fantasy points in 2 of his last 3, and he's coming off a game in which he saw an 18% usage rate. The Hawks, they're playing them tonight. They're ranked 24th in fantasy points allowed to centers. I don't have much more to say about Robinson-Earl. He's not exciting. He'll get the job done. This is a great spot for him to stay hot.
All right, take us to the DK Sportsbook. What's the best bet tonight to build up that bankroll?
I'm going to this Dallas-Phoenix game, and it feels like I've been picking on the Mavs a little bit lately, so I want to apologize to Mavericks fans out there. It's not personal.
That's okay.
I just don't think your team is very good.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
sorry. Their defense is great. They're allowing fewer than 110 points per game, which in today's NBA is very impressive. It's actually been the offense that has really struggled lately, which was not expected coming into the season. And I have to say, I have never seen such a frustrating offensive system, let alone coming from Jason Kidd, who was one of the best playmakers in NBA history, but this is just Luka Doncic or Spencer Dinwiddie isoing for 20 seconds while the other 4 players stand around the perimeter doing nothing, and then they just force up a bad shot. Tonight, they're facing the Suns, who are a much better basketball team right now. Phoenix has won 7 of its last 8, and most importantly, they have dominated the Mavericks in the regular season lately. They have won 10 straight regular season games. I know everyone wants to go back to the playoff series, but the playoff intensity is not going to be there tonight. This is a rivalry. I expect the Suns to extend that streak, so I'm taking Phoenix on the money line.
Jeff Pratt, your job here is done. Exceptional work today.
Thank you.
Exceptional.
Look forward to talking to you at another time. We're going to talk to Chinmay and AJ right after this. We're going to react to what the U.S. did in the World Cup this past weekend, a.k.a. lose, and look ahead to a few games and best bets down the road. All right, just like its World Cup appearances in 2010 and 2014, the United States' run has ended after just one knockout game. So sad and sloppy. This time, the road coming to an end in a clash against the Netherlands, a 3-1 loss. AJ Scholes, Chinmay Vaidya, show your face and tell me, gentlemen, AJ, I'll start with you. The hell happened here? It was sloppy, right?
I actually didn't think it was that bad. I mean, we had some early chances. We couldn't convert. And then, yeah, defensively, it was sloppy. I'll give you that.
Okay.
But, we started out, it looked like we were going to get one there. And then they grab it. For a while, it looked like we were going to equalize. And then they get the third one. It just felt like we had chances and couldn't convert, which is something we talked about this team from the start, that the striker options weren't that great in that term. So, it's something that they need to work on. We need to figure out who can be a striker. I don't like that Brandon Aronson and Giovanni Reyna were late adds onto the pitch. I would have loved to see those guys get some more minutes. And, maybe we need to finish something up at center back. But overall, I wasn't horribly disappointed with the performance on the pitch. I thought we had good opportunities and we had a chance at certain points. If we had gotten the first goal, that game could have looked drastically different.
For sure. Chinmay, a reality check in a way for the good guys here. Would you consider this World Cup a success for the U.S.?
The Americans met expectations. The expectation was that they would advance out of the group stage and be in the knockout round. So I would say that this was a success in the sense that they didn't fall short. However, there was a lot of hype around this team. A lot of these players have played in top competitions in domestic leagues outside of international play. So in some sense, it is a little bit disappointing the way that it ended and the setup as to how it ended. AJ mentioned with Aronson and Reyna not getting on the pitch as much. That was a little bit of a disappointment for fans. It felt like in this Netherlands game, the U.S. was gaining momentum. And then every time they had a little bit of momentum, Netherlands found a way to put a goal in the back of the net. And that's a momentum killer right there. So I think in the short term, yes, they can be happy with how they performed. But we know that when 2026 rolls around, this team expects to make a much deeper run with what should be a more complete unit from a fairly green unit that was this time around.
All right, England, France, Argentina, all in action over the weekend. Chinmay, who impressed you the most out of the other games this weekend?
I think it had to be France. The defending champions haven't missed a beat, really. And I think the big difference here is just the Kylian Mbappe factor. It looked like France were stuck for much of that game, and then Mbappe comes through with an absolute rocket of a shot to get that second goal and create some separation. He adds a third one, and that just goes to show that you can, hold this team down for basically, 80 minutes, and all it takes is one run from one of the greatest players in the world to put the game out of reach. So I think France has that dynamic factor with Mbappe that England and Argentina might lack, even though I know Messi scored and has been good in this cup, and Harry Kane finally got one for England. But I think that Mbappe factor puts France over the top for me right now, heading into the quarterfinal round. We still got, again, a few more teams left to fill out this bracket, so who knows how it'll all shake out.
All right, what do you think, AJ?
Yeah, I mean, you have to agree. Before the World Cup, we had the Karim Benzema injury, and I said, if there's any team that's able to overcome something like that, losing a pretty solid striker, it's this France squad. They're just so ridiculously deep in attacking options. They're solid defensively. I mean, that goal they allowed to Portugal came from the spot late, so it's hard to really blame them for that. They just looked really dominant. England and Argentina did what we expected them to do, right? Like, both of them were supposed to come out and win those games. So yeah, it's a good display, I think, by all three teams. But I agree with Chinmay that France looked the most impressive, and really, I think that half of the bracket will be decided in the France-England game. I think whoever comes out of that one is probably going to make it to the final from the bottom half of the bracket. We'll see who comes out of the top, but yeah, that's probably everything on the line right there.
AJ, let's look ahead to tomorrow here. What's a good bet in this Morocco-Spain match on the DK Sportsbook? Spain minus 180 favorite here. Morocco plus 550 on the money line.
Yeah, I don't love having to give up that much juice at minus 180 for Spain on the money line. But I'm not sold on the spread either. Just, Morocco has looked really good at times. So while I think Spain will win, it could be a one-goal game. And so I don't love taking the spread. So overall, I'm going to look at the total in this one and take over 2.5 goals. Comes in at plus 125. I think that's good value here. And then grab some goal scorer props here. Hakeem Ziyech comes in at plus 550 to score, despite leading Morocco in shots through the group stage. I think you also can look at Fernan Torres on the other end at plus 200. I think we'll see goals from both sides in this one and what could be a pretty close game.
Chinmay, is this where Morocco's true underdog story comes to an end?
I don't know about that, at least in regular time. I like the draw in regular time, which comes in at plus 295 on the DK Sportsbook. I think Morocco are playing with tremendous confidence right now and have showed that they can go up against some of these bigger teams in the group stage and come out on top. And Spain, that 7-0 win over Costa Rica, that seems like a lot of smoke and mirrors now. They really struggled against Germany. And, the Japan VAR goal, we can talk about, VAR messing up there. But Spain did not look comfortable after scoring the early goal against Japan. So I don't trust the Spain team to hold a lead for 90 minutes. I think this one is a draw. I think this one goes into extra time. So give me the draw at plus 295. I also like under one and a half goals in regular time, which comes in at plus 205. I think Morocco muck it up a little bit defensively. Spain have struggled outside of that opening game to score. So I think this will be a low-scoring draw in regular time, and we'll see what happens in the extra period.
All right, Chinmay, Portugal, Switzerland, and the drama will not stop following Cristiano Ronaldo around. In that loss to South Korea, people are saying Portugal head coach not happy with Ronaldo. He doesn't like being substituted. It just seems like this guy, what is his deal? Like, I don't know at this point. But what's your best bet in this one, Chinmay?
Well, I think Ronaldo obviously doesn't like to come off. No player wants to come off in a World Cup match, but you have to look at the bigger picture there. They were resting players. They were already qualified through to the knockout stage. So I understand the bigger picture there for Portugal. I think this is where the goals come in. I like over 2.5 goals in this matchup. I like Ronaldo as an anytime scorer, which comes in at plus 150. And I also like Real Embolo for Switzerland as an anytime scorer. He's coming in at plus 400. I think that is tremendous value there, given his nose for goal in the past few games. I think this is the matchup where the goals come through. Give me those two anytime goal scorers in what should be a high-scoring thriller.
AJ, do you agree? Going to be a high-scoring thriller in this one.
Let's go.
Yeah, I love all of Chime's takes there. I'll take every one of those, but I'm going to add to it that I like taking Switzerland to advance at plus 175 here. We haven't seen a match go to extra time yet, although this Croatia-Japan contest looks like it could. So you could consider taking them 90-minute money line rather at plus 330. I'd be surprised to see that one go to extra time. It's obviously not an easy matchup to Portugal. There's everything else going around the team right now, and he's focused on his $200 million contract to play in Saudi Arabia. So I think getting Switzerland here is a good opportunity.
What did you say? You think it's 225?
I think it's 225.
Yeah, get it right, AJ.
Good for
we have
him.
you here for facts.
I mean, I don't know for sure, but what's 25 more million to him?
I don't know.
What's 25 million among friends?
Yeah, whatever.
Guys
Amongst just pals.
The guy's got a 12-pack. It is unbelievable if you look at shirtless pics of him. Okay, guys, AJ, hang out because we're going to talk some NHL right after this break. Chime, we'll see you later.
Final block of the show. And we have RotoWire's AJ Scholes here yet again, but we're also bringing in Paul Bruno to join him. Time for NHL opening faceoff, fellas. Favorite plays for the 6-game NHL slate. And we start with the center that you're looking to slot into those lineups. Paul, you're new to this segment, a.k.a. AJ was in the soccer segment before this, so why don't you start us off?
I like the matchup for a couple of top 6 forwards here. Mika Zibanejad, $7,100 against the St. Louis club that looks pretty disheveled right now after the shenanigans of their goalie on the weekend. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists in his last 4 games played, and I think that the Rangers have too much speed, and their game is on point right now versus the Blues tonight. Good pick there. And I also like Nazem Kadri. He's going to get second-line center minutes. He's been without a goal for 8 games, although he's got 20 shots on goal in his last 5 games to show that he's getting the chances. I think one of them has to drop sooner or later, and he's got a great shot to do that tonight, costing only $5,800 against Arizona.
All right, AJ, who you slotting in at center here?
Yeah, I'm agree with Paul on the Mika Zibanejad call. Add a little stats for the stats man here. The Blues have been absolutely bleeding goals over the last 2 weeks. Worst in the NHL at 4.57 per game. So I think the Rangers stack is definitely in play tonight. And look, Zibanejad's high priced at $7,600, but it's still significantly cheaper than McDavid and McKinnon, who will cost you over 9. As Paul mentioned, Zibanejad 9 points in at least 9 of his last 10 games. Probably have a high utilization or drafted percentage tonight, but I think you capitalize on him more in those tournaments by stacking other guys with him. But you got to look at Zibanejad tonight.
AJ, in the wings and things department, is there a dude who really stands out to you?
Well, yeah, sticking with that theme of stacking the blue shirts tonight, I think you look at both Chris Kreider at 6,300, who's on a 5-game point streak, and then Jimmy Vesey at 3,700. He's got just 1 point in his last 6 games, so you obviously want to make sure he's still holding on to that first line assignment, which early morning skate indicates he will. That makes it a pretty cheap stack option. You're paying $10K for Kreider and Vesey, and then paying a little bit less for Zibanejad compared to the top of the price range. So I think you can easily get all 3 guys into your lineup and still have some flexibility here.
All right, Paul, what do you think, dude?
What about Artemi Panarin of the Rangers, $5,900? I think we're all over that matchup tonight for good reason. Panarin is their leading point getter, though, so you got to slot him in. But let's not forget about another mismatch that pits Colorado at Philadelphia. I got Mika Zibanejad in there for $8,100. He's better than a point per game player, and he's on a real heater right now. So those two guys have to be in my lineup tonight.
All right, Paul, which blue liner do you like?
You sound like you're tired, Jesse. Is everything okay?
Yeah, you know what? The baby hasn't been sleeping great. I am pretty tired.
All
You're
right.
not wrong.
Well, hopefully you get more energy later today. Listen, a pair of power play quarterbacks who are involved in the offensive game night in, night out for their clubs won't break your bank tonight. I'm looking at Quinn Hughes for Vancouver, $5,800 against Montreal, and they're going to be giving up a lot of shots on goal, and he's always in the center of the play for the Vancouver team. And the same thing applies for Rasmus Anderson. I know they got a couple other offensive-minded D-men, but he always gets the top power play minutes as well as a big workload. He should be in line for a lot of opportunities against Arizona, and that costs only $4,700.
All right, AJ, which defenseman do you like?
Yeah, there it is. There's the energy. There's the energy, Kofi.
Me.
We had to fire her up.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm going to pay up on the blue line here. I know using the Coyotes isn't always a recipe for success here, but Jacob Chychrun is leading the league over the last 2 weeks in shots on goal. No other defenseman has come even close. He's got 5 per game over that stretch. 7,200 is a big price tag, obviously, but it's only a 6-game slate, slightly smaller. And if you save in other spots, using VC Panarin, as Paul and I have recommended, I think you can afford to pay up for Chychrun.
All right, last one here, guys. Let's go best value play, AJ. Anyone looking at the Bruins here with their 14-game home win streak,
Probably not.
No, not over here. I'm gonna stay away from the Bruins. Look, I mentioned the Coyotes are struggling, and they are currently 4th in the league in shots allowed this season, just giving up all kinds of rubber to their netminders. So I think you can find some value on the Calgary Flames tonight. Dylan Dubé appears to be finding his offensive game of late with 6 points in his last 7 contests. He costs you a bottom bargain price of just $2,600 here tonight. It's a good matchup against Arizona, so I think he's worth getting in your lineup.
Okay, what do you think here, Paul? Bring us home.
When I think of value plays in net, I look at sub $8,000 guys. Scott Skinner is $7,900. I see a lopsided win for the home team against Washington, and I think there's going to be lots of McDavid and Draisaitl highlights from this one. I'm looking even for a possible shutout. He won't get much work tonight.
All right, good stuff. You two appreciate the time as always. That is a show. That's a show. We've done it. Madden starting after this. The slate is at 5 p.m. tonight, and we will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Sounds good. Let's do it.